You started the book, with a big section on the brain and hormones. Can you talk about that? Why that was so important as a kind of, starting point for all the other lessons and recommendations you give throughout the book?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the brain because that's how we create habits, and our habits
Yeah.
determine our destiny and our future. So if we create good habits, we're going to have a better quality of life. We have bad habits, we have a worse quality of life. So what I find is the conscious and the subconscious brain. I talked about that, and the subconscious brain is our true health. It's the brain that adapts and has to the survival brain that runs our true health.
Mhm.
So typically, what happens if we're teaching that brain bad habits, it runs our life. It's like our autopilot brain. And if our autopilot brain is running our life in a bad way because of the bad decisions we're making, that will expose itself over time. And time exposes our decisions. So you see what happens with time. Being in practice 42 years, you see what time does to the body. And when you're younger, you don't see time. So I'm kind of the future talking backwards, saying, okay, well, geez, if you could change this and do that, and these habits matter. And the subconscious brain that runs our body, if you could teach it better habits, then time will reward those decisions. Time will reward those decisions. And you could have a better quality of life. And I think that's changing now. I think younger generation, they're more proactive with their health, and
Mhm.
they're doing things for their health to prevent breakdowns rather than wait for the inferno to happen and then they do something about it. And that's how typically you're talking about the sick care system works. So there's no lifestyle changes. And the reason I wanted to show the mind was because um, in that subconscious brain, we have this stress and anxiety state, and we have this calm state, as we know, that runs our body. And I wanted to talk about that instead of taking stress away, people use these outside in coping mechanisms. And these outside in coping mechanisms, alcohol, sugar, recreational drugs, gambling, whatever it is, they're waiting for this dopamine hit. And they
Mhm.
keep trying to use this outside in coping mechanism. That's why I showed scales. And instead of taking the outside in, we're building the craving system in the subconscious brain, and now we lose the tug of war. So if we lose the tug of war, now our subconscious brain owns us. And Horace was a philosopher. He said, if you don't rule your mind, it will rule you.
Mhm.
And what he meant by that was if you set up a bad craving system, you lose the tug of war and you can't even say no to yourself. And if you can't say no to yourself, how do you expect, how can you not be exposed to those decisions will be exposed over time? And then you're going to just take medications and your quality of life is going to be terrible. You can't move. You're going to get depression. You have all these ailments that they just throw products at. And they just throw products to slow the progression down the rabbit hole as time goes on, instead of trying to do lifestyle changes and proactive things that move the rabbit hole, getting out of the rabbit hole.
Mhm.
So in essence, that's how the society works. So I figured, man, if I could teach people how to have this young mind and this body that's young too, now you have more congruency, you have better quality, more fun, more activity. And a lot of it starts with the habits and teaching ourselves the habits. And we'll go into a little bit more how there's ways to do that that I taught in the book. But the only result is I taught how to add more calm. So instead of taking stress away, add calm to balance the scales. And if you add calming activities in your life, then your body, you can have more fun in your life because you're making better decisions inside. And that, again, those decisions will reward you with time.